You're listening to The Reclaimed Life, a podcast about recognizing manipulation, reclaiming your voice, and rebuilding a life that actually feels like your own. I'm Rachel Paxton, an author, ordained chaplain, and certified mental health coach. And each week, I'll explore the patterns, dynamics, and turning points that help people rediscover who they truly are. Have you ever wondered when you stop sharing how you feel? Not because you stopped having feelings, not because you no longer cared, but because somewhere along the way, it simply became easier to keep them to yourself. I don't think that usually happens overnight. I think it happens quietly, one conversation at a time, one relationship at a time, until one day you realize there are parts of yourself you rarely bring into the room anymore. As I've been writing my new book, When Your Voice Got Smaller, I've been reflecting on the moments that slowly changed me. Not the obvious moments, the quiet ones, the conversations that stayed with me, the experiences I explained away, the relationships that slowly taught me something about myself. One of the things I've realized is that I spent years trying to understand why people responded the way they did. If someone became defensive, I wanted to understand why. If someone dismissed my feelings, I wanted to understand why. If someone became overwhelmed, I wanted to understand why. I thought if I could just understand them well enough, everything else would make sense too. But lately, I've been asking a different question. Not, why did they do that? But, what did it feel like? That question has changed the way I look at my own story. Because often I don't actually know why someone responded the way they did. I only know what happened inside of me because of it. As I reflected on my own life, I realized there were moments when there simply wasn't room for my feelings alongside someone else's. Sometimes the conversation became about their intentions, about their disappointment, about their hurt, about their explanation. Without anyone saying it out loud, I slowly learned something. It felt safer to carry my feelings than to share them. I don't think I believed I had nothing to say. I think somewhere along the way I quietly stopped trusting that there would be room for what I had to say. That's different. It's one thing to lose your voice. It's another to slowly stop bringing it into the room because you no longer expect it to be received. The interesting thing is that for years, I thought the problem was my feelings. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I expected too much. Maybe I needed to understand people better. But what if that wasn't the lesson at all? What if there simply wasn't room for my feelings alongside theirs? That question doesn't blame anyone. It doesn't explain anyone. It simply describes an experience. And somehow that has changed everything for me. I've also realized that healing didn't begin when I finally understood everyone else. It began when I started paying attention to my own experience, not to decide who was right, not to decide who was wrong, simply to notice what I'd quietly carried for so many years. Sometimes healing begins there, not with answers, but with attention. So today I want to leave you with a couple questions. Have there been moments when there didn't seem to be room for your feelings? What did you quietly begin believing because of those moments? And what might change if instead of trying to understand everyone else first, you gently made room for your own experience? Thank you for spending a few minutes with me today. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to have you join me again next week on the Reclaim Life podcast. And if you're listening to this after my book, When Your Voice Got Smaller, has been released, I hope you'll pick up a copy. These podcast episodes have become a place for me to think out loud, while the book is a deeper invitation to reflect on the quiet moments that slowly shape how we see ourselves. Until next time, may grace gently remind you that your own heart is worthy of your attention. May you notice the feelings you have quietly carried. May you gently begin offering yourself the kindness you have so freely given to others. Thank you for listening to The Reclaimed Life. If something in this episode resonated with you, you're not alone. Many people are beginning to recognize unhealthy patterns in relationships, systems, and environments, and discovering that reclaiming their voice is possible. In future episodes, I'll explore topics like recognizing manipulation, understanding narcissistic dynamics, rebuilding self-trust, and learning how to create a life that actually feels like your own. If you'd like to explore more of these ideas, you can visit my website at thereclaimedlifepodcast.com, where I share additional writing, resources, and future episodes of the show. Until next time, take a moment to listen to your intuition, trust what you're beginning to see, and remember that reclaiming your life often begins with one honest question. This is The Reclaimed Life.